Hello. for which we got a moving response of 950 registrations, a moment of immense pride for all of us. Today, we are particularly honored to have with us a distinguished guest, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi Sir, former Central Information Commissioner of India. I also welcome Professor Dr. V. Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of MNLU Mumbai, who couldn't be present today due to external professional commitments. Now I request our esteemed registrar, Dr. Prakash Sir. Maharashtra National Law University, Mumbai, founded in 2014 under the Maharashtra National Law University Act, is a leading institute among India's national law universities. It has shown dedication in excelling in legal research and education since its inception. Over the past 9 years, the university has made significant strides, laying a solid foundation for the future growth and success. The Bono Club, established by the Department of Justice, Government of India at MNLU Mumbai, is committed to promoting legal awareness, social justice, and community engagement. Now I invite Registrar in Charge, Dr. Pratap Singh Sarangi sir, to give the welcome.
Respected Shailesh Gandhi sir, former Commissioner of Information, I welcome on behalf of Maharashtra National Law University because I know sir for decades almost, and sir's work is recognized in the field of right to information, and sir's personal commitment to spread the awareness about the right to information is commended from all the sections of the society. The workshop for training in relation with right to information that plays a very significant role because Bono Club has organized this workshop, and I congratulate at the outset itself Anand Raut sir as well as Garimapal ma'am, all the volunteers of Bono Club who took the initiative to have this program. Right to information, this is a very significant value. In Maneka Gandhi, Y.V. Chandrachud has very meticulously quoted that information and free flow of information is the best disinfectant. If you withhold the information, then certainly it piles up lot many other issues in the society. And the root cause of majority of the social evil, you will find it percolates and it goes to the non-availability of exact and correct information about the processes, about the rights, and lot many issues associated to it. Take a simple example like toll. Wherever we go, toll plazas are installed. And if we require infrastructure development, then definitely toll is inevitable. That is what which is given us to understand. Just go through the RTI applications which were filed in relation with number of vehicles which were taken as a base for the calculation of toll as well as the period of toll, and number of vehicles coming from Pune to Mumbai and vehicles going from Mumbai to Pune. Just go and see the figures which are given And we will laugh at those figures. But this is the grim reality, that on that basis, the amount of toll and year for which the collection of toll is associated with the same. Not only that, but the subsidiary company which is supposed to carry out the survey for number of vehicles, many a times it is found it is the company which is actually a surveying company, that is a subsidiary of the main company which got that contract. So even the smallest country in the world and underdeveloped country in the world will not have this deadly combination. It is like I am given a choice to have my own salary to be determined, works to be determined. So I will be liberal to the maximum extent while deciding these things. What appears as very illogical in our common parlance and common knowledge is the reality. And for that reason, work of Shailesh Gandhi, sir, that is very much required. Because there was a phase in our own independence, and that was people were not feeling that they are the owner of this power. Though our constitution starts with we the people, but they feel that going for the election and voting on that particular day is the only duty which is assigned by the democracy. That could be a very small aspect of the duty. That is not the duty which is assigned in that particular regard. A recent row over the electoral bond is also associated with the free flow of information. And you just see, even the bank like SBI trying to dodge a very simple expectation which was required, and in 2018 itself, it was made very clear that the information you should collate in such a way that within fraction of second, you should be able to collate it and to produce it to any agency which requires to go for such kind of evaluation of the information. Lot of struggle which is there for bringing political parties to the purview of right to information. And the day on which all the political parties will be brought within the purview of right to information, I think that will be a new struggle for independence, which will culminate in having such kind of very material information. You just, if whenever you are fed up with all the web series and news seasons, just try to read the affidavits which are filed by the candidates to the election commission. They don't own a single four-wheeler. They don't own the flat or any residence. They don't have any saving amount in their saving account. Very poor persons. But their family members, they are extremely rich. How this disparity which is there, but at least we know this thing. You may be surprised to know this few years back in 2014, there was one very interesting fact which came to our understanding, and that was, it was a Lok Sabha election, and it was a campaign which was attended by a celebrity actor, and almost 2 lakh people attended a bike rally, and which culminated into a big meeting. It was the month of May, and to accommodate 2 lakh people, pandal, acoustics and everything, and the cost which was incurred, which is submitted to the Election Commission of India, which is a audited report, and the cost which is shown is 3,500 rupees. So why we worry about inflation? If we can arrange a celebrity, if we can arrange a gathering of 2 lakh people, we can accommodate them into a pandal, we can arrange the acoustics and every single arrangement which is required for sale in just 3,500 rupees, and which is the audited report. So you can imagine a kind of a brazenness which is there in the arena of a political field. That is very sad. And for that reason, right to information, that becomes a very important thing. And from that angle, such kind of an awareness, which is extremely essential one. So it is very essential to understand that there are not only three pillars for the democracy, but there is a fourth pillar of a democracy, and that is the informed citizenry. When citizens will start questioning the authorities, I will just give one reference and then I will conclude. Montesquieu's writing about the separation of power, try to understand the backdrop at which he felt that this is very essential. That was the time, and this is very interesting. We should actually envy to know the backdrop of this thing. Montesquieu wrote these things before actually giving the power in the hands of the political will. Because Montesquieu and his own generation thought whenever power will be bestowed in the hands of the political will, there is great chance that power may be abused. And how prophetic he was, that we can easily understand by witnessing lot many instances. So he wrote separation of power, and that is the backdrop, because he wanted that power should be decentralized. There should not be accumulation of power. Because if power is accumulated in single hand or few hands, that is definitely going to be abused. And that's why it is always said, if you want to test character of a person, give him power. And when you give that power to the person, then that person brandishes the real character. And that is also a lesson which is in the democracy, which we need to learn. But what Chanakya had said, that is the best person who learns from the mistakes of the others. Because our life is so short, we cannot carry out all the experiments in our own life. So we should learn from the experiments which world has carried out and which is given to us to understand and appreciate our own rights. And what Harold Lassie has quoted, that the eternal vigilance is the only price which we pay for the liberty. If we are not vigilant, then definitely our liberty is compromised. So it should not occur. That is the caution which we have to take. And what it's saying in relation with the democracy, that man's capacity to do justice makes democracy possible, but man's inclination to do injustice makes democracy necessary. So we should redeem our pledge with the democratic credentials for which right to information is going to act as a very potent tool, but we need to use it with a caution, with a vigor, and with a passion as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would now like to introduce our esteemed guest, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, sir, RTI activist and former Central Information Commissioner. Mr. Gandhi is not only a first-generation entrepreneur and a distinguished alumnus of IIT Bombay, but also a leading figure in the RTI movement. He played a crucial role in the drafting of National RTI Act and has been a driving force behind the national campaign for people's right to information as its convener. During his tenure as the Central Information Commissioner, Mr. Gandhi disposed of over 20,000 cases in less than 4 years, setting a record of efficiency and dedication. His contributions have been recognized with numerous awards, including the Nani Palkhiwala Civil Liberties Award and the M.R. Pai Award. Mr. Gandhi has also authored the book RTI Act, Authentic Interpretation of the Statute, and has written extensively critical analysis of Supreme Court cases on RTI, which are invaluable resources for anyone seeking to understand or teach this powerful tool for democracy. Today's workshop aims to provide you all with invaluable insights into the RTI's intricacies and applications. Mr. Gandhi's expertise gained through the years of practical experience and training thousands of citizens and government officials will prepare you to demand transparency from public authorities and promote accountability and good governance. As we proceed with the workshop, I encourage you all to engage actively, ask questions, and seize this opportunity to learn from one of the giants of the field of information rights. Let us use this time to prepare ourselves to be effective contributors to a transparent and accountable society. Let's make the most of this opportunity to learn from one of the pioneers in the field. Once again, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, sir. Sir, I invite you upon the stage.
Yes. Fellow citizens of India, we say we are the world's largest democracy. Is that right? Yes. Democracy, I was taught when I was in school. I never went to a law school, but I was taught that democracy is rule of the people, for the people, by the people. Is that still valid? Yes. If you go to a government office, they will treat you like the ruler of this country. But that's what democracy is, isn't it? Then are we a sham democracy? Why? How do we say we are the world's largest democracy? If we are not rulers of this nation, how do we say we are a democracy? Any guess? Are we a sham democracy?
The fact that we have the democratic values in any country is world.
Fair. What we have converted democracy into is a system. We have a reasonably fair system of elections by which we are able to take the unrepresentative leaders, etc. Therefore, we say we are a democracy. I would submit to you that having a constitution and a fair system of elections are necessary conditions for a democracy, but are not the complete set of conditions. The heart and essence of democracy is the concept that each individual citizen is a sovereign in her own right, and she gives a part of her sovereignty to the state, in return for which she gets the rule of law. Sovereignty of the individual. At one such workshop, one young student got up and said, "Sir, can we live with 140 crore Badshahs and Begums? Because you are a Badshah or Begum of democracy. Can we run a country with 140? Is something which is
Audio or
So what do I mean by everyone being a ruler of this country? Respect for the individual citizen, respect for the individual being, which is the basis of human rights, which is the basis of all laws, basis of our constitution also. Respect for the individual. That is missing. And let me give you one story related to this, a story that all of you know, but in a slightly different perspective. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi got inside that train in South Africa 125 years back. He had a first class ticket, but the white man objected, and therefore, he was taken off the train. The same story is written that he explained about what had happened to him by telling them. And in 14 to 16 hours, a railway official came and put him on the train, next train. Think of the significance of this. Mohandas Gandhi was not a citizen of South Africa. By South African law, he was not even a first-rate human being. By South African law, he was a second-rate human being because he was a brown man. Despite that, he complains 125 years back, and the system responds in 12 to 14 years. If you take the Indian Railways today, with all our fast communication, etc., in forget 12 to 14 hours, in 12 to 14 days, if you get an acknowledgement, you'll consider yourself lucky. That is what is meant by respect for the individual. That is missing. Someone gave me a new definition of democracy which applies to India. He said it's a system to elect rulers on behalf of the citizens. That is not what democracy is. At one talk again like this, one young person got up and hello, can you hear me? Okay. So one young person got up and said, Mr. Gandhi, are you serious about us being the rulers of this nation and owners of the government? I said, yes. He said, sir, if I like the government car, can I take it home? I said, no. Then he said, you are lying. You say, I am the owner of this country, I am the ruler of this country. Why can't I take a car home which I like? I said, because you are in partnership with 140 crore other Indians. But, and this is the point I want to bring across to you, all the information in the government's files, computers, cupboards also belongs to you individually. And if that is given to you, you do not deprive anyone else of that information. It can be given to 1 lakh people. It can be given to 1 crore people. Therefore, all the information held by government, the default mode is it belongs to you. You are the Badshah or Begum of this nation. And you must be treated like that. With respect. The public servant is also Badshah or Begum because he or she is a citizen of India. It's a negotiation of equals. With this in mind, I'd like to explain some of the provisions of the RTI Act. But to me, it's the greatest empowerment tool, which practically converts our concept of independence, concept of Swaraj, concept of democracy. Otherwise, नाम के वास्ते ये डेमोक्रेसी है, नाम के वास्ते ये स्वराज है, ये स्वराज नहीं है. So I'll explain some provisions. Let me read this preamble. Whereas the Constitution of India is established democratic republic, and whereas democracy requires an informed citizenry and transparency of information, which are vital to its functioning, and also to contain corruption and to hold governments and their instrumentalities accountable to the government. And whereas revelation of information in actual practice is likely to conflict with other public interests, including efficient operations of the government's optimum use of limited fiscal resources, and the preservation of confidentiality of sensitive information. And whereas it is necessary to harvest these conflicting interests while preserving the paramountcy of the democratic ideal. Parliament was aware that there will be some difficulties. It is not that Parliament was not aware. The Act harmonizes this, it codifies it. People say we got right to information in 2005. I disagree. We got right to information on 26 January 1950, the day the Constitution of India was made and we became a republic. Article 19(1)(a) covers the right to information. It's implied in Article 19(1)(a). To contain corruption, also this is a very powerful tool. And more important than all of that, in my opinion, it is empowerment of the individual citizen, which is paramount. What is information? The definition is given there, but it's very simple words. What exists is information. What does not exist is not information. For example, if you were to ask what is on record based on this, it should be given to you. But if you say, if I apply for a government job, will it be given to me? That's not seeking information. If you say, what's the meaning of this law? Unless the meaning is there on a record, there will be no answer because there's nothing on record. This is right to information, not right to interrogation. And access to any relating to any private body which can be accessed by a public authority under any other law for the time being enforced. Private bodies are not covered under the RTI Act. Public authorities are, and what public authority has been defined in the next slide. But Information of private bodies which are with public authorities also have to be given to the citizen because he owns that information. What's a public authority? Public authority means any authority or body or institution of self-government established or constituted by or under the Constitution by any other law made by Parliament, by any other law made by state legislature. A, B, and C effectively cover everything that we call government. Central government, state government, panchayats, municipal corporations, municipalities, all of these are covered. If an institution is created by an act of parliament or an act of legislature, that is also a public authority. For example, the Sikh Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee has been created by an act of parliament. Therefore, it's a public authority. By notification issued, an order made by the appropriate government. Most deemed universities are public authorities by virtue of the fact that they are created by a notification issued by the government specifically to create these. And includes anyone owned, controlled, or substantially financed, non-government organizations substantially financed directly or indirectly by funds provided by the appropriate government. There's some controversy about PMK's fund. The government says this is not a public authority. I think they are wrong. Any body owned, controlled, or substantially financed by government. They say PM Trust is not financed by government, fair enough. It says PM Trust not owned by government, fair enough. Controlled. The Prime Minister of this country is the chief trustee. He heads the trust. And 3 other ministers are ex officio members of the trust. They act on behalf of the government. They cannot say that we don't act on behalf of the government. If you are ex officio a member of some body, you are expected to act on behalf of the authority, which is the government of India. Therefore, PMK's fund is a public authority, but which the PMK's fund is refusing to follow. Right to information means the right to information exercised under this act, which is held by or under the control of any public authority and includes you can inspect work, you can inspect documents, you can inspect works. Taking notes, extracts, or certified copies of documents or records. You can take certified copies. Most of the RTI applications relate to taking copies of records or extract from records. Obtaining information in the form of diskettes, etc. CCTV footage is certainly covered under 4 and is going to be relatively a very important source of information as time goes because everywhere we have got CCTV lined up. And these CCTV footage generate information which belongs to you. When you are dealing with right to information, think of one thing. I am the owner of the information and therefore it has to be given to me. Denial of information is the exception. The most important section, in my opinion, of the RTI Act is Section 3. Subject to the provisions of this Act, all citizens shall have the right to information. Logically, if I own the information, why should it be denied to me at all? If I own something, whose bag is that? Excuse me, whose bag is that? Anyway, doesn't matter. No, that's okay. I just made a point. What belongs to you, nobody can tell you that whoever it belongs to, the Vice Chancellor cannot tell him you can't open that bag. Because he will say it is mine. If you ask him why can the Vice Chancellor stop you, you will say it is mere bag. Similarly, all the information in the government belongs to me. Then why can any information be refused? But to run a nation, you need to have some restrictions. And those are provisions provided in the law, which is reflected in Section 8(1) and Section 9. Section 9 covers copyright, so we will not touch that. Section 8(1) has 10 clauses, which we deal with in some detail. Only subject to the provisions of this Act. No other act, no other law can be brought in to deny information. Only based on the exemptions of Section 8(1) can information be denied to any citizen. Section 4, heart of every public authority. shall maintain all its records duly cataloged and indexed in a manner, etc., etc. And be computerized are within a reasonable time and subject to availability of resources, computerized and connected through a network all over the country on different systems, so that access to such records is facilitated. It's been 18 years since the act was passed. Today, all panchayats have computers and some level of internet connectivity. At least I'm aware in Maharashtra, there are 28,000 panchayats, all of them with computers, each one employing one person who can operate the computer and do internet connectivity. Now, a situation I want to present before you, which was what the thinking had been, it should be, which has unfortunately not been realized. You go to a government office to follow up on some complaint, some representation, some issue. Quite often you'll be told file नहीं मिलता है. 100 रुपया दिया तो फाइल मिल जाएगी. 200 दिया तो रिकॉर्ड बदली हो जाएगा. 500 दिया तो फाइल गायब हो जाएगी. और थोड़े लाख रुपए दे दिए तो मंत्रालय में आग लग जाएगी. This is what happened with paper files. If the whole thing was only on computers with no paper files, a file could be transferred from place to place within seconds. If somebody tried to change anything, it could be discovered as to who tried to change it, what was it before. All these systems are available. Government spends thousands of crores of rupees on paper and files, a comparable amount to store these files, and a comparable amount to locate these files. Quite often they get lost. When somebody wants to cover up a corrupt act, he just says file gum ho gaya. Instead of which, if we had an electronic system, and which is possible, in the commission I had done it for the last 2 years of my tenure, I have worked on digital only, no paper files. If this was done, why I'm sharing this is this is a possibility which can reduce India's corruption by at least 30%, if not more. And that was the idea behind this. Section 4 has not been implemented properly. Most of us feel that if Section 4 was implemented properly, 50 to 60% RTIs would be less. And information should be so much available to the owners on the websites itself. Every office, the Act has designed this so beautifully. Where do I go to ask for information? The law says the applicant needs to think of which department is likely to have the information. Each administrative office of a public authority must have a public information officer, each one of them. If it's a very, very small office, it can have an assistant public information officer. In short, the citizen can give the RT application to any administrative unit of a public authority, and he cannot be refused by law. Supposing that PR does not have the information himself, but it's available in that office, he's supposed to collect it and take the assistance of other officers. Supposing it belongs to a completely different department, then what happens? The law does not permit the PIO to say, "Aap udhar jao." You are the master, you are the owner, you are the Badshah of this nation. The law says PIO will transfer it within 5 days to the right PIO and intimate to you about it. The small fee, 10 rupees per cell for the application and 2 rupees per page for the information. A person who desires to obtain any information under this act shall make a request in writing or through electronic means in English or Hindi or in the official language of the areas in which the application is being made. So there are 3 languages in which you can make the application. You will get a response also in any one of these 3 languages. You cannot insist that you should get it in a language that you prefer. An applicant making request for information shall not be required to give any reason for requesting the information or any of the personal details except those that may be necessary for contacting him. This establishes your ownership over that information. Some government officers say this is an unfair provision. Do you feel it's unfair? Because you own that information. Why should you give, and it's part of my fundamental rights under Article 19(1)(a). If I have to give reasons for asking for information, tomorrow I have to give reasons for speaking. Day after tomorrow, I have to give reasons for publishing. Mind you, media, we say, is the fourth pillar of democracy. But media finds no mention in the Constitution of India. Then how does it become such an important pillar of democracy? Supreme Court has ruled that it comes under Article 19(1)(a), and media is important and very critical to a democracy because it is the medium through which citizens get information. If media is important because it is the medium through which I get information, what should come first? My right to information or media's right? My right to information. That's right. My right to information. Start understanding and believing this. It is my right to information which is paramount, which is the base of democracy, which is we, the people of India, made the Constitution. Nobody gave it to us. We give legitimacy to members of parliament, members of legislative assembly, etc. Otherwise, they are nobody. On receipt of a request under Section 6, PR challenge expedition is possible in any case within 30 days of receipt of the request. Either provide the information on payment of such fee as may be prescribed or reject the request for any of the reasons specified in Sections 8 and 9. It's been reiterated. Nobody can say this is confidential. This is not over. It is sensitive information. Therefore, I will not give it. Reasons for refusal have to be based on Section 8 or 9 only. Section 9, as I said, is copyright infringement. Section 8(1) has specific 10 exemptions laid out. Apart from that, no information can be denied. I've seen a lot of rejections coming, people saying, "Abhi tak process pura nahi hua." That is not the issue. At the status at which it is when the RTI application comes is what must be communicated. If PRO fails to give decision on the request for information in the period specified under subsection 1, which is 30 days, PR shall be deemed to have refused the request. And this means refuse the request without any reasonable cause. Section 20 comes into play and penalty must be levied on such a PIO who has refused, not responding. This further fee, as I told you, person making request for information shall be provided the information free of charge where a public authority fails to comply. 30-day period just for some people, because sometimes people are confused. PR receives RT application is day 1. After X days, PR sends letter asking additional fees. 30-day clock stops. Additional fees paid, 30-day clock starts. Information sent after Y days. X plus Y should be less than or equal to 30 days. If RT application is transferred, 30 days becomes 35 days. People are quite confused about how to frame an RTI application. They give a background, not necessary. They give reasons, not necessary. Think of what record is likely to exist in a public authority and seek for that. If you believe that this record should exist but does not exist, ask for it and say if it does not exist, that should be stated. Quite often you say investigation kya ho raha hai, kuch nahi hota hai. So they say that investigation khatam nahi hua, which cannot be a ground for denial. They have to refer to Section 8(1) only. So I've given samples of some RT applications of my own, which in very brief, and you can see this presentation is going to be shared with all the participants. It's already shared, fair enough. So these are examples of what and how information seeking can be done. If you want to inspect files, I would suggest a format saying I want to inspect files relating to so-and-so. I will bring Mr. So-and-so to assist me in the inspection. Please suggest 2 dates to the time at which I would come for inspection. I will identify the document for which I want photocopy, the type of inspection. Please ensure that the pages of files are numbered. All 5 pages must be numbered. Otherwise, they will remove some pages and show you the file. Likely outcomes of RT application. PR sends letter asking for further fees to be paid and information obtained by applicant. Satisfactory outcome. You get letter from PIO transferring your application. Further communication will be with the PIO to whom the RTI is transferred. Please understand this. Quite often people keep pursuing the PIO to whom they send the application. You must pursue the PIO or an appeal against the PIO to whom the RTI is transferred. You get letter from PIO refusing to give information quoting an exemption. If you feel exemption is justified, accept the decision.
If your refusal is not justified, file first appeal within 30 days. You must state reasons why you think refusal is not justified. Though you don't have to give reasons, but in actual practice, you have to counter the PIO's rejection. PIO asks you to come for an inspection, refer to SICR. If you ask for a specific record and PIO says for inspection, you can say, I will not come for inspection. I want this record and you must give it to me. PIO does not respond at all. This is a deemed refusal without any reason. File a first appeal after 35 days and before 60 days of the RTI application. Address to now. If the PIO does not give information, there is a first appellate mechanism. So there is a first appeal to the senior officer within the same department. How do I know who the first appellate authority is? PIO ko samajh gaya. Think of the administrative unit and file it for the PIO. I don't need to know his name. In fact, my submission is don't even name the PIO. Just give it to PIO at a particular office. First appeal, the law says the PIO who deals with you must give you the information about the details of the first appellate authority. If he doesn't do that, he has violated the law. But then how do you figure out where the first appellate authority is? He may not be in the same office also. So address your appeal to the first appellate authority, care of public information officer, the same address. And write in that the law requires you to inform me of the first appellate authority. Since you have not done this, it's your job now to transfer it to the first appellate authority. RTI is a fundamental right of citizens under Article 19(1)(a) which guarantees freedom of speech and expression. Various Supreme Court judgments have held this right to include right to information and right to publish. These are all part of Article 19(1)(a). Now, if any restrictions have to be put on my fundamental right, that has to be within the Constitution. It cannot be done without reference to the Constitution. Article 19(2) gives the authority to provide some restrictions to my rights under Article 19(1)(a). The only permissible restrictions are given in Article 19(2), which permits reasonable restrictions. In the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, security of state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation, or incitement to an offense. There is a lot of controversy about what constitutes privacy. The privacy debate has become big, and we'll discuss a little bit of it later on. But I want you to take a careful look at Article 19(2) and think of which words in these can relate to privacy. My submission is only decency or morality can relate to privacy. Sovereignty of India, etc., have no concern with privacy of the individual. Think about it, and we'll discuss this further. Exemption, if you know 8(1) properly, you know what information may be denied, and then you are the king of RTI. Notwithstanding anything contained in this act, there shall be no obligation to give any citizen. 1(a) is a very broad-based thing, but a PIO cannot say I reject it based on 8(1)(a). He must tell you what interest out of this is affected and how. Insist on that. He must give reasons for rejecting if he rejects based on 8(1)(a). 8(1)(b), information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal of the disclosure may constitute contempt of court. Quite often, people reject saying matter is sub judice. Do you think it's a valid exemption? It's a valid denial? Yes? You are aware what is sub judice? Matter is being agitated in court. Parliament used the word sub judice but did not use it. It said information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law. There should be an order specifying that this information shall not be given publicly or shall not be made public. Without that, a rejection is bad in law. See, information disclosed of which would cause a breach of privilege of Parliament or the state legislature. What kind of information is this? There is information that has been placed in Parliament or state legislature at a particular time. For example, Commission of Inquiry reports are supposed to be placed in Parliament or state legislature within 6 months of their being submitted. This is quite often not done. I have done it, and various people have asked for such information which the government does not want to publish at all. And after 6 months, the authorities have been forced to give us the information because after 6 months, the value of privilege is gone. Information including commercial confidence, trade secrets, or intellectual property, the disclosure of which would harm the competitive position of a third party. For example, if you ask FDA for the details of the formulation of Coca-Cola, it will be denied using 820. Two conditions have to be satisfied. It should be in the nature of commercial confidence and it should hurt somebody's competitive interest. After a tender is awarded, information cannot be denied regarding the tender because nobody's competitive interest can then be claimed to be hurt. There's a larger public interest override, which we'll talk of collectively. Information available to a person is fiduciary relationship. Some people say fiduciary means trust. I would beg to differ and say it goes far beyond trust. Trust is just one element of a fiduciary relationship. I've seen a lot of government officers saying that, PIOs saying that because somebody has trust in the government, he gives information to the government, which is not true. Most of the information in the government is given non-voluntarily. Whether you like to give it or not, there's a regulation that requires you to give information, you have to provide it. If you want to apply for a job, you find information regarding yourself. If you are asking for an income tax exemption, you give information regarding yourself. This information is not in a fiduciary relationship. Information is given to a fiduciary by somebody for his own benefit. The fiduciary is obliged not to disclose the information to anybody else, but the person who is given the information can take the advice or the comments of the fiduciary and share it with 100 other people. That is not a fiduciary relationship at all. And yes, you have a choice of who to give it to. With a banker, with a lawyer, with a chartered accountant, consultant. I have a choice of who to go to. Information received in confidence from foreign government. This is the only place the word confidentiality or sensitivity comes into play. When information is given by a foreign government, it can be claimed to be exempt on the grounds of saying it's given in confidence. For example, Rafale deal information was refused like that. Information, the disclosure of which would endanger the life or physical safety of any person or identify the source of information or assistance given in confidence for law enforcement or security purposes. H is again a very heavily misused exemption. Information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Quite often, a person is given a complaint to the police or somebody else, and he or she knows that kuch nahi ho raha hai, so they file an RTI application saying, what is the progress of the investigation? And 81H is used to refuse information, which is laughable. The word is impede. Just because an investigation is ongoing, information cannot be denied. Only if you show that giving this information will impede the process of investigation or prosecution, only then can it be denied. If a record exists, otherwise it has to be given. Cabinet papers, including records of deliberations of the councils of ministers, secretaries, and other officers. Provided that the decisions of councils of ministers, the reasons thereof, and the material on the basis of which the decisions are taken shall be made public before the decision has been taken, after the decision has been taken, and the matter is complete or over. This is a unique exemption. Until a certain point in time, but information is exempt. But after that point, the government is expected to share the information suo motu. After a decision is taken, the information must be shared. For example, when a bill is presented in Parliament or state legislature, there is hopefully discussions within the cabinet with the bureaucrats and so on. All this material, until the decision is taken, is exempt. If the decision is taken to present the bill in Parliament and the bill is laid on the House of the Parliament, then within 7 days, they should disclose all the discussions to the public. The whole concept of democracy is that citizens shall discuss matters, and it's not the prerogative of just a few people. We must actively engage and understand the reasons for or against passing certain laws. The most misused exemption is 8.1J. Information which relates to personal information, the disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest, or it would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. Public interest override will be later, provided that the information which cannot be denied to the Parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. All personal information cannot be denied. I want to make this point very clear. A lot of information is being denied, saying it's personal information. The law does not say this. If it is personal information, it may fall in 81J, but it has to satisfy other criteria. The disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest. I would submit that 99% of the information in government public records is a public activity. What you ate in the afternoon, you don't have to report to the government. That's a private activity. What you do in your house is a private activity. What you do in your bathroom is a private activity. These are not matters before the government. Or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. Now, this is the conundrum. Privacy has been declared as a fundamental right by Supreme Court. So how is one to decide what is privacy, what is public authority, what is public order? Parliament was aware of this confusion, because how is the PIO going to decide this is intrusion on privacy or not? The Puttaswamy judgment, over 550 pages, does not tell you what are areas of privacy. In fact, it says it will be decided on a case-to-case basis. So conceptually, if you think, the PIO must go running to the Supreme Court for every RTI application, say a privacy ka matter hai ki nahi. Parliament had realized this problem and therefore given a proviso only to 81G, provided that the information which cannot be denied to Parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. If anybody takes exemption under 81J, he or she must say that I would not give this information to Parliament. And what is the basis for this? Article 19(2), if I go to, privacy is to do with decency or morality. If something violates decency or morality, it should not be shared with Parliament, it should not be shared with the citizen. Apart from that, all of the information cannot claim privacy. And this is supported by Supreme Court judgment earlier, which I'll deal with slowly. Notwithstanding anything in the Official Secrets Act, nor any of the exemptions permissible in accordance with subsection 1, a public authority may allow access to information in public interest and disclosure outweighs the harm to the protected interest. Public interest has to be shown only if an exemption applies. Otherwise, there is no reason to show public interest. No reasons can be sought why you want information. You are the owner of the information. However, if an exemption applies, you can still insist that information must be shared because there is a larger public interest. Subject to the provisions of clauses A, C, and I of subsection 1, any information relating to any occurrence, event, or matter which has taken place or happened 20 years before the date on which any request is made under section 6 shall be provided to any person making the request under that section. Does it mean information has to be kept for over 20 years? The answer is no. Each authority decides how many years or how many months or how many days information is to be kept, depending on its working. If over 20 years are over and the information is still there, only 3 exemptions will apply, A, C, and I. The other 7 exemptions do not apply after the 20-year period is over. The Digital Personal Data Protection Act, Section 44(3), is effectively going to kill the RTI Act. Amends the RTI Act and exempts information which relates to personal information. Utna hi rakhne ka hai. What is shown in red is deleted. With no discussion, no civil society engagement, nothing. And what's the background to this? The background to this is the Supreme Court of India itself. Supreme Court of India in Girish Ramchandra Deshpande said if information is personal, it is not to be given. Without considering the law, without considering any reason. The law was amended by the Supreme Court by what I consider an illegal, unconstitutional order. And that has become the gold standard and been followed by 5 to 6 subsequent Supreme Court judgments, which have held this up. Puttaswamy also upholds the Girish Ramchandra Deshpande judgment. The government decided that courts to ye kar rahi hai, personal information ko mana kar rahi hai. So let us also do it. Let us make the law, make it legal. And I'm saying this with great responsibility. The Supreme Court's saying that all personal information is barred under the current law is a wrong decision. Girish Ramchandra Deshpande does not discuss any reasoning, does not discuss the case. It just arbitrarily says personal information may not be given. This will make it a right to deny information, RDI. RTI ko RDI bana. Data Protection Bill must not override RTI Act, and no amendment to the RTI Act should be done. There is a great need for public to understand this and to demonstrate against this, to write about it, to bring it to attention of Parliament and others. What I already explained. In my contention, privacy has only decency or morality as the main criteria. R. Rajgopal is a Supreme Court judgment of 1994. The ratio is a citizen has the right to safeguard the privacy of his own, his family, marriage, procreation, motherhood, childbearing, and education, among other matters. None can publish anything concerning the above matters without his consent, whether truthful or otherwise, and either laudatory or critical. In Radha Gopal and in Kharak Singh and in some other judgments, the Supreme Court made an effort to at least name what areas can be covered by privacy. Once a matter becomes a matter of public record, the right to privacy no longer subsists and it becomes a legitimate subject or comment by press and media, amongst others. We are, however, of the opinion that in the interest of decency, Article 19(2) an exception must be made to this rule. A female who's a victim of sexual assault, kidnap, etc., which would be violating decency or morality. In the case of public officials, it is obvious right to privacy, or for that matter, the remedy of action for damages is simply not available with respect to their acts and conducts relating to the discharge of their official duties. The Girish Ramchandra Deshpande judgment of the Supreme Court completely contradicts this, without even mentioning R. Rajgopal. Okay. First appeal to first appellate authority within 30 days for not getting information, incomplete information, or wrong information. First appellate authority should decide in 30. He can extend it by 15 days to 45 days. If result of first appeal not satisfactory, 5 second appeal to the commission in 90 days. Section 19(5) categorically states onus on PIO that denial of information was justified. As the law is being framed, you do not have to justify why you should be given information. The PIO is expected to justify his denial of information. You are the Badshah or Begum of this nation. Yeah, I think something so. It's not there. Not here. Section 23 of the Act is very important and has been neglected by most courts. No court shall entertain any suit, application, or other proceeding in respect of any order made under this Act, and no such order shall be called in question otherwise than by way of an appeal under this Act. The final appeal, therefore, as per Section 23, lies with the Information Commission. No appeal can be heard by courts. Courts are barred from hearing appeals in this matter. What is happening is they claim it's under writ jurisdiction. There are judgments of the Supreme Court itself about what is writ jurisdiction. Most of these cases do not fall in writ jurisdiction. They are actually appeals masquerading as writs, which is a matter of deep concern. And if you read this properly, you will find this violates Supreme Court judgments itself in terms of writs. If they did not hear this, a lot of information would still flow to citizens. This is Supreme Court definition of what is the rate of sorcery. Carefully look at the response and see if information has been provided. Information can only be denied if it is not available, if it is exempted under Section 8 or 9, or file not found. Section 20, this is the teeth of the Act. This is what makes the Act work. If information denied without reasonable cause, Commission must penalize the PIO at rupees 250 per day of delay after giving an opportunity of explaining. Maximum penalty rupees 25,000. Commission can also recommend disciplinary action against the officer and compensation to be paid. The penalty is the real piece of the act. For the first time, we have a provision that says if a citizen's fundamental right has been denied without reasonable cause, a public servant shall pay a personal penalty from his salary. This is big. This is huge. This recognizes the concept of sovereignty of the individual citizen. Unfortunately, most information commissioners levy penalty as if it's the death penalty. This is a penal provision which is very important to sustain RTI and to make RTI more effective. Section 22, the provisions of this act shall have effect notwithstanding anything inconsistent therewith. Therefore, any other law cannot be brought in to say information can be denied. All laws, as far as giving of information are concerned, are subjugated by the RTI Act. Briefly, to explain the whole process, RTI application information in 30 days. If no response provided or unsatisfactory response, first appeal to be filed within 30 days of response or 60 days in case of no response. First appellate authority order after hearing within 45 days. Unsatisfactory order or no response. Second appeal to commission within 90 days of the first appellate authority's order or 120 days from date of first appeal. Now, this is a format. You don't need any form for RTI. Any plain piece of paper is your form. Maharashtra government has specified a formats. You can use this format, they are useful, but it's not necessary. Now, this is a story of a poor band from Vidarbha who had come to Mumbai looking for a job. Where did he stay? He stayed in a hutment with one of his uncles. While he was going around trying to find contacts, he heard there was an RTI workshop in the Basti. So he went and sat down, understood what is information, what is right to information, that he cannot ask questions, it's not interrogation, but information which exists on records. He needs to apply only to the public information officer, and there's a 10 rupee application fee. He understood all this, and then he moved on. He got a job, and then he had to apply for a ration card. So he went to the ration office and gave his application. The peon accosted him at the door. He said, "Ration card chahiye kya?" He said, "हाँ भाई, इसीलिए तो form भरे." Peon said, "चाय पानी लगेगा." The boy said, "ठीक है, आपको चाय पिला दूंगा." The peon said, "चाय पिलाने की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ." तो बोले, "फिर क्या?" तो he said, "2000 रुपया लगेगा. 2000 रुपया दोगे तो तुमको राशन कार्ड मिलेगा." This boy, without batting an eyelid, said, "I will not pay a price. मैं घूस नहीं दूंगा." The peon said, "हाँ, तुम बेवकूफ हो, छोटे गांव से आए हो, तुमको क्या अकल है, मुंबई कैसे चलता है? तुम जाओ, तुमको इस जन्म में राशन कार्ड नहीं मिलेगा, जाओ." This boy went back, found out from the Basti that people were paying bribes and getting ration cards in 40-45 days. He waited for 3 months. He got no ration card, no response from the rationing authority before he filed this RT application. I had given an application for a ration card on 5th August 2006. I want the following information about its progress in the following format. Date on which application received, name and designation of the officer receiving it, action taken, date on which forwarded to the next officer. वो क्या लिखते? तुम्हारा application मूवी लीक किया है कि चाय पानी नहीं दिया? There was nothing on record. The application was there. I want a list of ration cards issued in the last 2 months, giving the dates on which the applications were made and the dates on which the ration cards were issued. If they had to give this information, it would obviously lead to understanding that there was corruption. There was no reason for him not getting the ration card. So the peon came to his house and said, "Saab ne bulaya hai." He went to the rationing office and the officer said, "अरे अरे ये आए हैं, इनके लिए कुछ सिला। इनका राशन कार्ड लेके आओ और एक कप चाय और एक गिलास पानी लेके आओ." He did not give chai pani. He got chai pani instead. And to me, that one cup of tea and one glass of water was respect to the sovereign Indian citizen. That is what it meant. It was far more than just getting a ration card. This format has been used, this technique has been used for income tax refunds, for various complaints not being attended to, for various jobs not being done. Thousands of times, this same format has been turned around and used. Now, I'd like to give you one other instance of an RT application which I had filed, which led to a fairly significant movement, which normally does not happen. But there are good government officers, they need our support. If we don't support them, nothing will work. So here's my RT application. On one day, I saw in Times of India, front page, a photograph of citizens demonstrating in Marine Drive because one police constable More had raped a minor. On the same day, on page 5 was a small news item. The small news item said, Police Inspector Prakash Avre of Mumbai Police had raped a minor the earlier year. He was suspended from service and the case was filed against him. Not enough evidence was given before the court, therefore the magistrate discharged him. And he was being reinstated in service. When I read this, I felt very angry. So I decided to use RTI. This is the application I filed. According to the news report in the Times of India dated 29 August 06, Inspector Prakash Avre has been accused of raping a minor girl in September 2005. He was acquitted by the Sessions Court in February and has been reinstated in service. I want a photocopy of the order reinstating him along with the file notice based on which the decision was taken. I could not say, "Ab nahi kar sakte ho aisa." I didn't even say that. I said, I want a copy of the order with the file notice. So give any reasoning, if any. The PR refused this and I filed a first appeal. Grounds for appeal. Facts of the case. I asked for information regarding the reinstatement of Inspector Prakash Avre as per the attached application. PR first sent me a letter stating the information will be provided by Baikala Police Station. PR Baikala replied by a letter of 16.5 that the information could not be provided as well as exempt under Section 8.1 which exempts information should impede the process of investigation or apprehension of prosecuted offenders. PR has not shown how providing the information could impede any investigation. In fact, no investigation is being held since Prakash Avre has been reinstated. The rejection is without any basis in law. There was a very good Deputy Commissioner of Police who was on the other side, who was the appellate authority. At that time, I was just an ordinary citizen of Mumbai. I was not a commissioner. I became a commissioner later on. So I went for the first appellate hearing and he said, Mr. Gandhi, I see what you are saying, but what could we do? What has released him? I said, sir, from my point of view, there are two possibilities. A, Prakash Avre is guilty of the crime he is alleged to have committed, in which case reinstating him is doing great disservice to the police force as well as to citizens and society. Alternately, Prakash Avre is innocent. Then someone framed him. That person should be held responsible. He saw the point I was making and he said, Mr. Gandhi, let me see what I can do in 20 days. In 20 days, I got a letter in writing from the police commissioner's office that Police Inspector Prakash Avre had been dismissed from service. That is the power of right to information that any one citizen can exercise. Does every RTI application lead to something like this? The answer is no. That would be a lie. In my perception, initially for the first 6-7 years, about 25 to 30% applicants. You want something? Sorry? I don't know. I don't know. The truth is, I don't know. I believe there are departmental methods by which they can dismiss people. So they must have found some way. I don't know the reasoning. But the letter from the police commissioner's office came officially to me saying Prakash Avre has been dismissed from service. And I did not insist on getting the information in all fairness. I was quite satisfied with the outcome of this RTI. Very well. My submission is there are good public servants also. There are always public servants. If you use RTI, some of them get backing. In my opinion, the first 5-6 years, about 25 to 30% of the RTI applications led to some small change in the governance structure. Something. Even if people did not give information, they would say next time I nahi karne ka kyunki RTI mein pakde jaoge. Now it is down to about 15%. But here's the dream that I would like to share with all of you. If 60 to 70 lakhs Indian citizens, and that's not a big number, take a vow once a month to file an RTI application about an issue that concerns them, or an issue with they are concerned with, if they feel is wrong. Don't get worried whether you get the information, don't get the information. You may not pursue in appeals, etc. But you just start finding that one RTI application. There will be 6 to 7 crore RTI applications in the government. 1 crore times. Some small change will occur in the governance. And in 5 to 10 years, we can change the face of governance in India, make it more citizen friendly, make people respect citizens' rights. That is something we can do individually. At one such talk, there was a gentleman my age. My people are more cynical. So he said, Mr. Gandhi, मैं 10 साल तक कंप्लेन किया, RTI किया, कुछ नहीं होता है, कुछ होने वाला ही नहीं है इंडिया में, कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता है. To such friends I say, a lot of us go to mandirs, masjids, gurudwaras, agyaris, there are churches, whatever. Once in a day, once in a week, once in a month, maybe once in a year. When you go there and come out, you have an extra 100 rupee note in your wallet. The answer is no. Why do we do it? We do it as an act of faith. We have faith that by doing this, something good will happen to us, our family, our society. What do we do for the nation as an act of faith? Zero. Let us do this as an act of faith for the nation. महीने में एक RTI application डालने. Spend 1 hour in according to a survey of mine, all Indian citizens script for about 2 hours every month. Or what is wrong with the government, with India? कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता है. My submission is एक RTI application file करने को आधा घंटे से ऊपर नहीं लगेगा. File one RTI application is nothing else. If we, the citizens of India, become active citizens, India can become much better. India will change. And if we don't do it, nobody else will do it for us. और कोई नहीं आएगा. मेरा भारत महान लोग बोलते हैं, कहते हैं, टेम्पो ट्रक्स के पीछे लिखते हैं, टैक्सी के पीछे लिखते हैं, but we don't really believe it, do we? Therefore I say, मेरा भारत महान नहीं है. मेरा भारत महान नहीं है, पर ये दोष मेरा है. मैं the individual sovereign of this nation. मैं इस देश का बादशाह हूँ. At the end of this talk, if you start believing that you are the badshaह or big of this nation, there will be certain responsibilities on you. Akbar Badshah or Shivaji Maharaj did not just say कि मैं बादशाह हूँ या राजा हूँ. If something was wrong, they work to correct it. We need to work to correct it. And we can. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now the floor is open for questions.
The Lord of Lords says, Article 92 does not say this. In Article 92, try and find out anything that says all possibilities. Secondly, let me give you this argument in a little time. What informs privacy must be done. I will proceed that. 99% of the information is routinely collected by government. Now, the question I'd like to pose is,
Question I'd like to pose to you is, does government have a right to invade my privacy routinely? No. Okay, fair enough. So information that is routinely collected under special circumstances is different, and Terrorism Act, UPA Act, etc. But information, let's say I apply for a government job, I give in my documents, I file a complaint, that's personal information. Can all this information be routinely collected by government if it's an intrusion on my privacy? The answer is no. If it is intrusion on privacy, it should be stopped. To apply for a ration card, I give a form giving information about myself. If it's an intrusion on privacy, that information must not be sought. But if it is a part of public record, it is information that is owned by the citizen.
Scenario, suppose I applied for a government job and I have submitted my personal details regarding what I studied, how much score I got and all these things. And someone may have a doubt regarding my qualification. So that person can apply for my qualification, whether I'm eligible for this job or not. But maybe that person is someone who would like to defame me, and maybe that person, maybe I do have the qualification, maybe that job required a bachelor's degree and I do have that, but maybe I did not score well enough marks, and maybe that person wants to know exactly what marks I got and filed the RTI like this. So doesn't that count as a privacy breach for my case?
Not in my opinion. It is public records. See, when we talk of transparency, if you start denying on personal information being denied, first the law doesn't say this. Law has put various conditionalities which are being neglected by various authorities. If most 90% of the information with government can be linked to a person.
Yeah.
So that way it becomes the right to denial of information. You can forget the RTI Act itself.
Yeah, but like there are certain maybe the authority can only state that I do have a bachelor's degree, that's it, rather than like stating every detail about me regarding whether I have any.
No. Look, the application does not seek your sexual orientation.
No, I'm not even talking
My,
about.
my point is, it does not seek what is a matter of privacy. And if it seeks that, it must be refused.
Okay. But a matter of privacy may be different for someone. Maybe I am too sensitive about exposing what percentage I got in the bachelor's degree, and maybe someone is sensitive about his or her sexuality. So that is a personal thing, right?
No. My submission is constraint on my fundamental right has to come from the Constitution. It comes from 1992, which provides two words: decency or morality. In your opinion, knowing your marks, does it affect decency or morality? In my opinion, no. We can differ on that.
Yeah, sure. So how do we decide which is critical personal information which should not be shared? And
in my opinion, go by the law. Is it a matter of public record? The answer is yes. That's why information is being sought. Is it an intrusion on privacy? In my opinion, the answer is no, but somebody may say the answer is yes. So we can differ on that. Therefore, the proviso saying provided information that shall not be denied to Parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. What meaning do you give to this? In my opinion, there's only one meaning. Whoever is claiming exemption under Section 81J must state that, in my opinion, I would not give this information to Parliament. If I would not give it to Parliament, fair enough. So to decide privacy, I may be confused. But I can certainly make a statement. If I cannot make the statement that I will deny to Parliament, then I must give it to the citizen.
And one more thing I wanted to ask that you talked about that we also have right to get CCTV footage from any authorities. Does that any authority mean private authority? Even suppose if I am having a CCTV camera installed in my household, and that CCTV that is not.
No, only public authorities are coming under the.
So any CCTV camera or footage which is owned by government authority, that comes under.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So over the years, I have read and that we have also seen that there has been a rise into the life of RTI activists, and a lot of them end up dying whenever they file an application to the government. So what measures can the government take to ensure their safety?
Very good question. In my opinion, what I call the honeymoon period was up to about 2010, 2011. 2011, we got a devastating Supreme Court judgment. You know, what's known as the Aditya Bandyopadhyay case versus CBSE. The Student had sought a copy of his answer sheet, evaluated answer sheet. That was denied under RTI. And the Supreme Court held that it has to be given. But in the same Aditya Bandyopadhyay judgment, they introduced para 37, which had no relationship to any facts of the case. There's no evidence, nothing. But this was an outpouring of the Supreme Court in para 37, which said effectively, RTI should not be allowed to damage the peace, harmony, and integrity of India. It should not be allowed to oppress honest officials doing their duty. And so on, it goes on in that way, which I think was a very unfortunate statement. The Supreme Court saying misuse of RTI. How can RTI be misused? When I speak, I can make an allegation against somebody. And maybe 3 people or 10 people will listen to that. When I publish something, 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 people will look at it. When in the RTI, what can I do? I can only seek what is on record. From there, the story started that RTI users are blackmailers, extortionists, misusers. And this has become the common trend everywhere. The only fundamental right that since independence, which has been constrained, is the right to information. And if we allow that to happen, tomorrow the freedom of speech will also go. Freedom to publish will also be subjected to certain restrictions without the backing of the Constitution of India. So to your question, are these happening? The answer is yes. We need to create enough public opinion to dilute this and say, where is the misuse? Misuse है क्या? अगर कुछ गलत किसी के हाथ में आता है वो ब्लैकमेल, आई डोंट अप्रूव ऑफ ब्लैकमेलर्स, बट अगर वो करता है तो वो कुछ गलत किया उसके लिए ब्लैकमेल करता है ना, तो गलती बंद करो. We are a funny society. We are not concerned with the person doing an illegality. We are concerned with somebody who pickpockets it. नहीं, वो बेचारे को तो शांति से गलत काम करने दो भाई. But this is growing, I concede. Even in media reports, quite often you will hear Gujarat right now government, 300 RTI users have been subjected to police interrogations. This is wrong, and we need to fight for our fundamental right.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, sir. Good evening. If RTI is a citizen's power, it indeed is an individual power, then wouldn't it make sense for this individual power to be organized in some way, sir? If we were to see that, let's say I have a right and I go every week or every month and file an RTI, that indeed is my power. But if this power were to be organized, let's say a civil society or NGOs, do such groupings exist and would it make sense to do such groupings, sir?
It would be nice, but I have one example of my friend Arvind Kejriwal. He decided on that. Organizations have their own hierarchies. And then they get into this situation where you need money, you need funding. So personally, I'm of a votary of, I'm not saying people should organize, and there are organizations already in India, different areas are there. But personally, I am a votary of saying, let the Indian citizen individually do things. That is the power of the democracy. In India, we listen to somebody only if he's organized. 25 लोग हैं, 50 लोग हैं, 100 लोग हैं, तब तो सुनेगा कोई बात. My perception is that true democracy is when one voice is heard. If you don't do that, then you land up in the mechanics of organization building, mechanics of मेरे पास ज्यादा लोग हैं, तुम्हारे पास कम हैं. It becomes a political game. But I'm not saying no. There are organizations that are there and that are doing reasonably well.
Surely, sir. Because one analogy, we all think of investigative bodies inside the government itself. So this, in some investigative body for the people itself, sir. Look into the government documents. So it would make sense to give it an organizational backing and organizational power.
Fine. So I'm saying there are organizations.
Surely. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I just have one question to ask. When you talked about the incident with the policeman, so wouldn't you say that in a way, when it comes to the free flow of information, that instead of being a success is a failure because what we don't know what happened. The entire point is free flow of information.
No, I concede that. As an RTI purist, I should have insisted on the information, but this is way back in 2006. These were very early days when we were yet figuring out how powerful this tool is. At that time, I perhaps wrongly thought that कुछ objective achieve हो गया. Maybe I was wrong. I'm not disputing that.
Sir, I have one question. Can we ask information in particular format, like in table form?
Now that, see, what the law says is that it should be given in a format that you see, unless it would disproportionately divert the resource of public authority. From my perspective, when I was a commissioner, I would say, अगर 1.5-2 घंटे में कुछ कोलेशन हो सकता है तो उस फॉर्मेट में देना है. If it would take 2 days, then you can refuse to do that and say, I'll give you photocopies of all and you do the whole thing.
Actually, my question relates to the previous two, my brothers already asked. What if, let us say there is an individual, you just mentioned that one individual and so many lakhs, if we put up our query, and that will be a like mass revolution of sorts. So on the one hand, it is an individual initiative, it will take time. And if we, other hand, like if we become an activist, we try to encourage people, we have threat of life. And then NGO or all these things, there's a organization structure coming in the way, me bigger and than the other one. So can there be an alternative of sorts by way of a platform, digital platform, where they are a aggregator of sorts and they ask queries and they aggregate and they ask queries and they again transmit it back to them. So it is a digital platform. If there is any, you may apprise us. If there is none, that can be an answer to many of these areas.
That is a good idea. In fact, we've been advocating, I've been myself advocating, that all RTI queries and responses to the RTI queries should be put on the website compulsorily. If that is done, and it should have a word search and search facility, a lot of information will become known. Second, wrongdoing would become difficult. Right now, blackmailing is possible because information is with one person. Tomorrow, if information is put on the website, no such possibility exists. Unfortunately, we've not been able to make it happen. But I agree. Private aggregation, some people have tried earlier. In fact, people have asked me and I have inaugurated 1 or 2 websites like that. But they've not been very successful in getting enough response from the RTI users.
Sir, in the same way, like for instance, I am a beneficiary of RTI information, and there is a platform where all such beneficiaries they come and showcase their benefits. So, what can be the possible authenticity? Like, how do we declare that this is authentic coming from individual who is a beneficiary? And so, it is just for information. You can always emulate it. Is there, can we have some answer of sorts in this particular manner?
We'll set up something like that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm saying, let each one of us take ownership of India. ये देश मेरा है, मैं इस देश का बादशाह या बेगम हूँ. If we start believing that, then it's my responsibility to bring change.
Sir, so as I mentioned, the Pro Bono Club has been actively involved in RTI filing for the Living Will initiative. One fundamental problem which we faced was 2 things. First was the PIOs were replying in their mother languages, that is their state languages, that is fine, one. But then we realized that around 38 applications which we had filed, 22 of them just gave us our own application as a reply. So, firstly, I feel it's a waste of state resources because the state is spending money to post it to us. And moreover, it is waste of time. This is what we felt.
You see, as the structure is, technically you should go for a first appeal, and the first appeal authority should, if he does his job, criticize and hold the PIO responsible. If you go to the commission, if I was a commissioner, I would have penalized the chat. But these are not functioning. We need to build public opinion. Most of us relate to an issue of ours. We're not looking at systemic changes, bring about system changes.
One more thing, out of 38 RTIs which we have the program job files, around 12 RTIs have not been replied and it's been around more than 30 days.
File first appeal.
First appeal has also not been replied.
Second appeal. See, there is a process, that's all one can say.
And what if after second appeal also we don't get the reply? What is
Technically, the High Court is a recourse, but the High Court is as bad or worse than the Information Commission. So personally, I would say give up. Maturity is also understanding how far can I go and realizing that beyond a certain border I cannot, but overall it has an impact. Even if I don't succeed, I may not succeed in everything that I try.
So when it comes to CIC level, virtual meeting, we are hardly given 5 minutes, and not even 5 minutes, 3 minutes for instance. And in 3 minutes, we can't defend our case, we can't speak up, and then it's all over.
No, really speaking, it's not your job to defend the case. As I said, if you look at the act properly, it is the PIO's job to defend his case. You are expected to say, मुझे ये चाहिए. अब क्यों नहीं देंगे तो exemption का clause पता है. And if you limit it to that, more than 3-4 minutes you don't need really. बाकी सब दुनिया भर की बातें ना करें और सिर्फ वो टेक्निकल पॉइंट पे या 8-1 में एग्जम्प्ट है, योर कंटेंशन शुड बी 8-1 में एग्जम्प्ट नहीं है और इसका कंटेंशन है 8-1 में एग्जम्प्ट है, तो कैसे एग्जम्प्ट है, क्यों एग्जम्प्ट नहीं है, उतना ही डिस्कशन होना जरूरी है.
So my question is, we are aware about the situation happening between WhatsApp and government of India. Now WhatsApp has threatened Indian government if we are not like if you force to encrypt the data of the users, we will leave India. So my question is whether the government of India has right to seek information to a private entity like WhatsApp or Facebook.
That's a political issue. Firstly, I feel no.
My own view is that unless there is an issue of terrorism or some such completely illegal issue of mafia, I believe the government should not constrict, but that's my view, you know. So somebody else may have a different view on this.
Sure, but government argument is there are so much misleading data, fake content. So to means to take certain actions over that particular who originate that data or spread that fake content.
They would have to find some other way, in my opinion. The government has to find. For everything, you cannot say that I will make everything or take all control in my hand. Government also, as your registrar mentioned, the checks and balances. This is a check and balance. When you speak also, you can tell a lie, you can make an allegation. If not to WhatsApp, you can still make an allegation. In a newspaper, you can make an allegation. A TV channel, you can make an allegation. And हो ही रहा है, तो उसको बंद नहीं हो सकता है.
Other social media platforms are keeping the data with themselves. Like suppose I'm texting you a text on Instagram or Facebook. So that text is saved on the server. But in WhatsApp, it is end-to-end encrypted. Yeah. So whatever I'm sending it, not even WhatsApp is having that data. So government of India is having problem with that fact that if any suppose I'm a serious criminal, I committed a huge murder or something, and I contacted someone like someone like you who can arrange me to get out of this country, and we did that over on WhatsApp, and we did this trail, and if government of India can get hold of this chat, then government of India can
No,
track me.
I
So
understand.
that is the
My
main
friend,
thing
my point
government
is-
of India asking.
There are personal freedoms that are also held to be very sacred.
Hmm.
This argument is now going the other way, saying personal freedom tel lagane gaya.
No, government of India is not saying that we would like to check all the text that is going on WhatsApp,
If-
but in
if-
specific text where it is nation security related. That is the
But
thing.
that is not possible.
Yeah, obviously.
The question is, if I send a letter, and my letter में क्या भेजता हूँ, फिर बोलेंगे लेटर बंद ही मत करो, खुला ही रखो, हम जो मांगता है हम पढ़ लेंगे. Do we accept that?
No, I really know.
Then the answer is obvious. The government is seeking far more power than it has legitimate reason to.
Yeah.
And it's infringing on individual rights. And that, to my mind, is dangerous for a democracy. We need to go the other way around. Because this is the other direction we are going in.
Good afternoon, sir. Like my colleague had previously mentioned at the start, like suppose I am a public servant and submitted some personal details to the public body that I work under, and a third party who supposedly filed a RTI and asked for that personal details, would I be able to get information that he got it,
That, you see, section 11 of the law talks of if third party information is to be disclosed. If the PIO effectively feels that that is not exempt, if he feels it's exempt, he should apply the exemption clause. Feels it is not exempt, he must inform the third party that I'm going to give this information to so and so.
Yeah.
And if there is an objection, the objection has to be based on section 8(1) only. The PIO will be saying, the whole idea is he may not realize what harm may come.
No, sir.
Yes.
Would I be able to receive the knowledge that any third person party had
Yes.
received it?
Yes, yes,
It's possible.
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. Actually, I did my internship at Madhya Pradesh State Information Commission, and during my internship, I have observed that there is a huge backlog of files. So, what is the reason behind it? And like 2021 की फाइल्स हैंडल हो रही है 2024 में, जब तक नीड नहीं होती है तब ऑर्डर आता है. तो सर क्या रीजन हो सकता है बैकलॉग के पीछे, एंड इज इट आरटीआई इज अ इफेक्टिव वेपन? क्या कहना है आपका?
It is showing complete neglect of their duty by the commissions. And this is a cancer that starts from the courts. We've, as a nation, decided that judicial and quasi-judicial decisions can take as long as they please. When I was made a commissioner, I had said that I will ensure that over 90% of the cases will be disposed in less than 90 days. And I was able to meet that. There is no difficulty in that. You have to find innovative ways of doing it, depending on the load. To some extent, I am not sure whether this applies to the Madhya Pradesh case or not. The governments also are not appointing information commissioners. So there are cases where, though the commissioners are disposing of properly, the government just doesn't appoint commissioners, for which, unfortunately, we made a blunder in this act and all the acts in India. This is true of all bodies. Human Rights Commission, Women's Commission, Children's Commission, Lok Ayog, Lokpal, all of these. There is no process for selection of these. There is no transparent process. Therefore, most of these are given as political advantages. इसको ये मेरा बहुत अच्छा काम करता है, इसको दे दो. And most of them treat them as sinecures. A to post-retirement job है. This needs to change. And for all such, including our judges, we need a transparent and proper accountability process of appointing them. We need to monitor their work. That monitoring is not done publicly also. We don't bother about it. Lokpal करके लाखों लोग स्टेट्स पे आ गए थे. लोकपाल बन गया है, कुछ करता नहीं है. 20 से 30 करोड़ रुपए का खर्चा करता है हर साल. There we need vigilant citizens who will bring these people to account. There is no shorter way. But I believe that if large backlogs are there, then the jurisdictions, I call it making right to information, right to history. They are meaningless.
सर वन मोर क्वेश्चन, जैसा कि आपने बोला था कि एक स्पेसिफिक रीजन मेंशन होना चाहिए कि क्यों वो इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दी जा सकती है, तो सर ड्यूरिंग माय इंटर्नशिप में मैंने देखा था कि रीजन आया था कि फाइल गुम हो गई है, तो फाइल गुम हो गई है ये बताना कहाँ तक वैलिड है कि फाइल गुम हो गई है तो इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड नहीं की जा सकेगी, तो क्या होना चाहिए फिर स्टैंड?
In my case, whenever such matters came before me, I would say कि फाइल चोरी हो गया है। लोग बोलते हैं नहीं सर चोरी नहीं हुआ, मैं कहता आपको कैसे पता चोरी नहीं हुआ? नहीं है ना आपको मिलती तो चोरी हो गया होगा, तो जाके एफआईआर फाइल करो पुलिस में। I would make them go to police station and file an FIR. And somebody told me, he said, sir, what do you do with this? सबको FIR फाइल कर देंगे। I said नहीं, बहुत ज्यादा हो जाएंगे FIRs तो मैं मेरी ऑफिस के बाद फाइल दूंगा। देखो ये ऑफिस में इतने चोरी हो गए फाइल्स।
ऑलराइट, थैंक यू सर।
And in some cases, flights can be reconstructed also. So there one asks for reconstructing the files.
So there are a couple of online questions.
Yes.
So the first question is by Divyan Jain. For how much time the public authority should maintain records under the ambit of RTI, or sort of how much old records can be sought under the RTI from public authorities?
No. Public authorities should maintain records. Why are records kept at all by any office or any organization? They are kept for reference. How much time they want to refer to is each organization's decision. RTI doesn't talk of that at all. RTI access if after 20 years information is available. Record keeping आपके हिसाब से अगर आप बोलते हो permanent record रखना है तो permanent record रखना है. RTI doesn't interfere in that. If the record exists, it must be given after 20 years based only on 3 exemptions, not 10.
And the second question is by Amal Krishna. This falls into the electoral bond scheme question. So how does the electoral bond scheme ensure the confidentiality of donors' identities while maintaining transparency in political funding?
Transparency and confidentiality are opposite concerns. And in a democracy, if you accept that each citizen is a sovereign of the nation, then this question will not arise. All the information of the government belongs to the citizens of India. And to my mind, I don't think it's an issue of privacy.
Right. Another question is by Mujamil Ali. He asks what about some states seeking fees during first appeal?
Now, I've had this discussion with some commissioners. They say the law does not say they can't have a fee. So it's in the ambiguous thing, and I have personally felt it's a small issue, relatively speaking.
And another question is by Swadishri. She asks that the PI, for instance, in cases of immediate inspection of files under RTI, suppose the PIO doesn't give the records, even after mentioning the files don't come for inspection, and the PIO doesn't give the documents for inspection. So what action under RTI can be taken? What penal action can be taken? She's asking.
Go to the commission and complaint.
Right. That's it. Those are the questions.
As we draw close on this enlightening training workshop on right to information, I am filled with immense gratitude and a sense of purpose. Today, we have come together in the pursuit of a noble cause to empower ourselves with the tool of transparency, accountability, and good governance through the lens of RTI Act. I extend my heartfelt thanks to each participant who has invested their time and energy to this workshop. Your commitment to understanding and championing the principles of right to information is truly commendable. Your engagement and enthusiasm inspire hope for a future where informed citizens drive positive change. I also wish to express our deepest appreciation to our esteemed guest speaker, Mr. Sailesh Gandhi. Your wealth of experience, dedication, and passion for the cause of RTI activism have left an indelible mark on all of us. Your insights have not only enriched our understanding but have ignited a fire within us to use the RTI Act as a powerful tool for social justice. I thank Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Dilip Ukle sir, and esteemed guest registrar, Dr. Pratap Singh Salunke sir, Nodal Officer, Pro Bono Club, Dr. Anand Raut sir, and Faculty Coordinator, Dr. Garima Pal ma'am. And a special thanks to all the participants who have joined online and offline both. To the organizers, volunteers, technical and non-technical team who made this event possible, thank you for your support and commitment. Your efforts have facilitated the exchange of knowledge and ideas that will undoubtedly ripple through our communities. As we depart from this workshop, let us carry forward the spirit of empowerment and advocacy. Let us continue to be advocates for transparency and accountability in our respective spheres of influence. Together, we can make a tangible difference in upholding the values of justice and equality. In closing, I urge each of you to harness the power of information responsibly and to use it as a force for good. Let us walk away from here with renewed determination to build a society where the right to information is not just a legal provision, but a cornerstone of democratic governance. An important notice, we will be sending all the participants a feedback form. After filling it out, everyone will receive a certificate of participation. Thank you once again for your participation and unwavering commitment. I would request all the participants to come forward so that we can have a group picture with our esteemed guest speaker today. Yes. Please join.